on YouTube. Today's video is going to be kind of longly awaited because a lot of people have been asking me how have I made so much currency, and I'm going to go reveal my method. I know I've been streaming it, but a lot of people want to know exactly what sextants I'm using, what watchstones I'm using. And as you can see here, I did a stream today where I said I would delete my weapon if I didn't get the Headhunter, and I just wanted to prove that I was actually able to get the Doctor cards after selling off all the small currency from Nemesis farming. Now the method is Nemesis Currency. As you can see, I have a bunch of small currency, more small currency than I would ever know what to do with. I just literally sold 1,000 scourings for 8 exalts or so. It's actually incredibly easy to sell all the small currency by letting the buyers come to you. I think at one point I had almost 2,000 AUX, and you can see just stocked up on small currency. So let's turn in this Headhunter and let's see what we get. Oh wait, it's boring. It's what's it called? It's a regular roll. I thought it was a corrupted Headhunter, but we could always corrupt it, right? Well, we can't. But as you can see, we finally got the bell. It literally took like less than 2 days of farming, and it was incredibly fast. I think it was making around like 50x around in a day, and it felt really bad to do because of the constant clicking. But I'm gonna go over pretty much my gear choices right now and what I intend to do with this character, and I'm gonna go over the money making method and how you can also farm Nemesis 3 yourself and what you'll actually need. So with this belt, there is a problem, right? So this belt is very good. I lose some HP, but as you can see, my belt has 20 fire and cold res, so I have to figure out a way to make that up somewhere. Now the problem with this build right now, and a lot of builds in softcore, is the fact that there's so many uniques that are strong, but the uniques have no resists. So what that leaves us with is that we're using a lot of items that just don't have enough resist, and it makes like gearing a lot tighter. So right now, if I put this Headhunter on, I am at 59, 62, 78, meaning I need to get around 20% fire and cold res somewhere, and the easiest way to do that is probably just to recraft this helm and try to get a resist on it. A lot of people have been making fun of this helm, but the fact of the matter is I like the life regen. It feels pretty good, so I'm actually pretty sad that I'll have to make a new one. I might try to buy another helm or Blizzard Crown base and craft it out, but it's going to be pretty hard because if I buy a Blizzard Crown base, I want to make it a Shaper Blizzard Crown and have the mod nearby enemies take increased elemental damage, which should be incredibly good. I can even awaken orbit with like cold damage so that the enemies take increased cold damage. I think my highest damage right now is actually cold damage, but at this point I did get this accuracy per quality on my claw. Now I did do a nice pop review going over exactly how people can increase their damage, and I think the main thing that people don't realize is how much totem actually adds to this build. So when you put down the totems and like Ancestral War Chief and Ancestral Protector, your DPS actually goes up a lot. And this actually makes a huge difference because we use Panopticon as our anoint that gives us 50% increased effective buffs from ancestor totems while active. So you can't really right click off the totems, but let's wait for the totems to fade away. So right now we have 87k DPS. We put down 2 totems and our damage goes up to 144k. It is nearly double damage to use these totems. So that's why we use Panopticon, and that's why a lot of people say, oh, my single target is not very good. But a lot of times it's just because you're not putting down the totems, and then if you're not putting down the totems, and people are also panicking during boss fights, they don't have rage, you can see that damage goes up to 280k, right? And the baseline of this damage without putting rage or the totems down is probably 86k. So you can see it's a factor of almost 4 times. So you can be doing a quarter of your potential damage if you don't do this correctly. And this also matters a lot for Vol Lightning Strike. So if you don't put down the Vol Lightning Strike at the right time and attack the boss, you could be doing like 10% of someone who actually does the rotation correctly. That's why gear is one thing, but knowing how to play the character is another thing. So it does help to learn how this character exactly works and why it scales so well. So you need to have the rage, and the rage allows us to berserk, which does more attack damage and more attack speed. and that gets scaled with our 30% increased buff effect. And then that furthermore gets magnified by our totems, which gives us, so Ball Ancestral War Chief gives us 32% more melee damage, which gets scaled by Panopticon by 50%. So that's like 50% more damage multiplier. And then Ancestral Protector is 20% more attack speed, 50% increased effect, makes it 30% more attack speed. So that's why you're able to get so much damage output from using the two totems. Now, I know a lot of people's profile do not even consider using Panopticon. They use Tribal Fury or some other Graceful Assault, some annoying. But I do believe the weakest point of this character is the single target until you get really, really good gear. So until we get really good gear, Panopticon is my go-to annoy, and it's how I'm able to kill most of the bosses. I was able to do Maven and Awakener 8 Deathless, and it is kind of a struggle even using Panopticon. Now, Tribal Fury I do have on the tree. Eventually, with good enough gear, I will get Strike Gloves, but Strike Gloves are extremely expensive. So, but it does save us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points, and these 5 points is going to allow us to turn it into a large cluster. A large cluster is going to blow these points away in terms of damage efficiency, and we'll also get 1 additional strike from having a Maven Orb Glove. But that's just something in the future. Now, when you do Awakener, I do have Corrupted Blood immunity on my character. I tried Awakener without Corrupted Blood immunity, and I actually died, and I was like, what did I just die to? But overall, this is the point here for intuitive inspired learning. I do think inspired learning is a very, very strong jewel. So I will be using this throughout my whole time playing this character, at least while mapping, because in reality it's just a gem socket, and then I get an extra frenzy charge in all these nodes I'm already taking. So there's pretty much very little opportunity cost to using this jewel. And it's like what, like a fifth or a fourth of the strength of the Headhunter, which is absolutely crazy, especially when you're doing like the juiced Beyond maps. But hopefully that gives you a little insight into my current gear. I haven't really changed the gear that much. I will be changing the gear a lot in the coming days. I do have a lot of currency left over, so you can pretty much expect a completely new character in terms of gear. I think I have like 30x or so left over to upgrade this guy. And since I finally got the belt, I might buy the Mage Blood, but probably not right now, and hopefully the price doesn't go up too much. But now let's get into how to make the currency to buy all this gear. Now, the method we have here is actually called Nemesis 3 Currency Farm and Glennach Cards. Now, you can actually probably do this in a lot of different regions, but I decided to do Glennach because I like the passive Beyond Atlas passive tree nodes. And it just makes it a lot more fun because there are a lot of Beyond mobs, but I'm going to go over everything here to help you guys learn how to do it. And you can apply this to other regions, but this is just my personal setup that I enjoyed because I actually really enjoy doing Legion and Abyss. So that's why I decided to do this region. Now, for Uncharted Realms, you actually do not need to unlock that much of it. So don't worry about getting too much of it done. The only two things that I think really matter are +1 sextant use. So here you have +1 sextant use so that we can use 4 uses of a Nemesis currency per sextant that we roll. And the other one we have is 25% increased effect of Watchstone modifiers. And this helps the pack size modifier from Booming Populace. This also helps the Beyond chance and the Beyond spawn chance. So those are huge. So that means we only need to do 2 of the invitations, and you could choose to do the Shaper invitation and the Elder invitation, or choose to kill Maven. Those are probably the easiest ones in order to get your Uncharted Realm points. Now, next we have the Watchstones. Now, these are kind of variable. You can choose to use a lot of different ones. Now, as you can see here, for my character currently, I have a bunch of different Watchstones. So let me take these out. So I have all of these Watchstones. Now, you might be wondering, why do I have so many Watchstones? Now, the reason is when you roll the sextants, you sometimes have one that's really good, but it also ends up being a duplicate. So say here I really need Alvas because I don't have that many Alva missions. So I have 2 duplicates, and say you roll it twice in a row and you don't want to get rid of it, right? So you go buy another one of these, what's it called? Platinum Glennach Carnes Watchstones. Now this time around it's a lot easier because these Watchstones are a lot cheaper because people are just progressing through the Atlas a lot faster. Now, for me personally, what I like to do is I get one Booming Populace. This is the unique Watchstone that drops from, what's it called, Awakener. And this gives you 19% increased pack size, and I feel like that's very, very good value for how much this Watchstone is. I think this Watchstone is 6 Chaos. I don't know why it says 88 Exalts. Definitely not 88 Exalts though, but it's anywhere from 6 to 10 Chaos. Make sure it has 15 uses remaining when doing this. Now, next we try to roll Mariketh or Templar, and this is just the Legion encounter percentage chance increase. So you can see here, these ones we have Legion encounters in areas have 78% chance to include a Templar army, and that's Sanctus for the prefix. And this one here is Legion encounters in areas have a 60% increased chance to include a Mariketh army, and this was 97. So you generally want to get T1 if possible. I think a T1 runs like 2x, so it is kind of costly to roll. Now, you can choose either Templar or Mariketh, and the reasoning behind that is when you look at these emblems, you can see here at Templar emblem is 67 Chaos and Mariketh is 1x, so these are the most expensive ones compared to the other ones. So every splinter we find is going to be worth a lot more, so that's why we decide to choose those. Now, the other thing is you can also try to get Beyond Chance and Portal Spawn Chance increase, and these are probably the best ones in general use, because this strategy does revolve around you having to choose between Atlas passives of either Beyond Legion or Abyss. So Beyond Chance and Portal Spawn Chance affect both of those super well, but and these are called Demonic and Fraught. Now the thing about this is they're very expensive to roll, and I think they're really low weighting. So I actually stumbled into rolling one of them when I think it's, Demonic. So this one, Demonic here, is Beyond Portals in areas have 6% chance to spawn an additional Beyond Demons. So that makes it so that you spawn more Beyond Demons, and it's very, very good. So you can see there's only one up right now for 2x, and the other one is just a flat 1% chance to spawn Beyond. So it's just this node right here, except 1%. So you can see the best one is probably getting 3 1% or 4 1%, and then 1 Booming Populace, but that's very, very expensive. I think lastly, people were selling it for 6 to 7x. Now, these watchstones, although they're very good, you can have a lot of choice, and even without like perfect watchstones, you will still make a lot of money with this method. So the Atlas passives, the mandatory ones, are all of the Beyond nodes. You want to take Scent of Blood, Torn Veil, and Per Demon or Daemon. So this one here gives 3% chance to subtract monsters from Beyond when you slay them. This one gives 1 fewer portal to summon and merging radius, which is absolutely huge. And this one is like a baby version of the Nemesis currency that only works with rare Beyond demons. Now the next part is you get to choose whether you want to do Legion or you want to do Abyss. In my personal experience, I've done both of them, and I do think that Abyss is a lot better and more consistent. Legion really gives you not that much, so this thing gives it so that you have a chance to get a general. So this is a couple more splinters, depending if you get the general. And then this one here is 3 additional sergeants, and that gives you more rewards and more splinters. So this one is not bad, but Abyss is also very good. Now the reason we want Abyss is for this one right here, Abysses in areas have 100% increased monsters, and having 100% increased monsters means that with the Scarab that we'll be using, that also gives more monsters. The Abyss spawns a lot of monsters, and this allows us to get a lot of Beyond mobs and a lot more rare mobs or Nemesis mobs that drops more of these currencies on the ground. So personally, the big thing to consider is that Legion requires a really wide open map, while Abyss works in any layout map. So that allows you to choose a more narrow map like Silo or something, rather than having to rely on Park like I did. Now, Sextants, the mandatory ones in my opinion, are Nemesis Currency and Beyond. So these ones you want to roll no matter what. And the next ones, optional good ones, are Extra Legion, I really like. 2 additional Abyss is really good. Hunted Traders is really good. Alva is extremely good, especially if you're low on Alva missions, and it's a lot harder this league to farm Alva missions due to the nerfs. And another good one is 2 Breaches. You can't go really wrong with Reflect rares. Any mobs extra is going to be very, very good, but these are just the ones I think that stand out the most. Now, every now and then you'll come across this one called Mirror of Delirium, and this is the one where you have to save and you put it to the side and you pretty much just run this in your spare time when you don't want to do Nemesis Currency. You can use some other regular sextants and you pretty much run Tropical Island, which is the old school map that everyone used to do last league. So it's like you put the Delirium mirror on it, but except it's free and it comes from your watch, from your sextant. And you should expect to get around like 70 to 100 splinters, and it's pretty free. You don't really need to do any investment. You can just use like one Chaos Scarabs, like Breach Scarab or Rusted Legion Scarab, and one Blight Scarab, and you should be able to get this. Now, this time is not as hard, but you're also not able to get as many splinters because we no longer have those Delirium passives in the region like in Turn's End before. So that's just something to keep in mind. This does end up being a nice little boost to your income. Now, let's see. How do I actually show this part? Okay, so I will be including this Google Doc in the description down below. So how to roll the map. So you roll Nemesis on the maps, and that means you want to do it until you get rare monsters and make sure that you can actually do the map that you roll. So let me demonstrate right here. So I've been running Park. So you see here, this is rare monsters, and this is rare monsters each have a Nemesis mod, which makes the map work with the Nemesis currency modifier. So now when you get the map, you want to do it, you go here, you put in 4 other scarabs that you want to be using, and the scarabs do stack now. And then you choose Beyond. And if you have Alpha on a sextant, you don't need to put it on, put Alpha Mission, but you need to have Alpha Mission. Alpha Mission is huge and adds a lot of mobs for Nemesis currency. Now, the main thing compared to last league is that Alpha monsters for Nemesis currency drops all of the currency in stacks. However, even though now most of the currency does drop in stacks, since Nemesis currency, every single mob drops the currency separately, the currency does not stack, so you should expect a lot of clicking. There's a lot of repetitive clicking over and over again, and it kind of sucks. You can bind the left click to the scroll wheel as long as it is not an infinite scroll wheel and it's perfectly legal.
What now?
And in the end, you can probably expect to see like 1x in every 4 maps or so, or 3 maps. Some maps it will rain and you can see 3 or 4x. Other maps you might go 4 or 5 or 6 maps without seeing an exalt, but roughly you should expect to see a exalt like 1 in every 3 maps or so. That's just in my experience. It's a high variance, but in the end most of the currency will come from the smaller currency. Like I had like 3,000 alts at one point, 5,000 chance orbs, and chance orbs are actually worth a lot. So a lot of the small stuff is extremely expensive. Regrets are actually worth more than 1 chaos, so it's only like 60 regrets for 1x. I literally sold like 240 regrets for 4 exalts. I sold a bunch of scourings. Scourings are actually worth a lot. Everything is still worth a lot because the league mechanic blows. It does not offer any currency reward outside of Scourge maps, which a lot of people don't even like figure out how to do. But basically, this is how I made my Headhunter in literally less than 2 days with like 20-30x spare to left over. And I do think it is probably one of the best currency making methods by far out there, out of all of the ones I could think of. There's also some other ones that I might introduce in the later videos, but the only reason this really works at the moment is the price of Awakened Sextants. Awakened Sextants are 1 to 1.3 chaos, and it's like 1 in 70 to roll the Nemesis Sextant. It puts the average cost of the map at around like 35 chaos when you consider the Sextants and the Scarabs. Scarabs are also dirt cheap because a lot of people run Simulacrums. And then I think every single map you've got to be bringing out like 3x plus of small currency or exalts. So every single map is a huge profit. You could probably make around like 7 to 7x plus or more, depending on how fast you can loot and how much you really hate yourself to keep doing this. But I decided to do it for a little bit. Looting is not fun. I can't stress that enough. But it is a necessary evil, and it is by far the best currency that I could find that involved actually playing the game and not flipping or crafting. But I hope this helps out everyone, and I Hope that you guys give it a try. If the price of Awakened Sextants go up a lot, it will be less profitable, but in its current state of the price of small currency, the Awakened Sextants would have to skyrocket by a factor of like 4 times before it becomes not worth doing. But thanks for watching, everyone. I hope this helps everyone find something to aspire to make money. Because I know that this league seems really bad for money making methods, and yeah, this method is just as good as ever. It works in other regions. You don't need to just use Glennach. I just like Glennach the most. You could easily adopt this to do this in Valdos and choose some of the stuff that you like Expedition or Delirium here or Harbinger. In this region, you could potentially do, I don't even know. This region is probably not the best for this. But Lyra Arthane, you could potentially do Breach or something like that, and Expedition. But there's a lot of different stuff. You have to come up with it, experiment with yourself, which region you like doing, which league mechanic you like doing. But if you wanted just a foolproof thing that I did to make the Headhunter and like 50, 60x a day, just follow this method and it's guaranteed to work unless the price of Awakened Sextants go up by a lot. But thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you find more mirrors and exalts than I do, and see you next time. Bye.